Hi, I'm Debbie Harbeck, and I'm a certified life coach working with women in midlife and through the menopause transition. So each week, I'll be sharing the latest information, inspiration, and generate some momentum so you can move forward and feel more in control of your changing midlife body and your life. Let's go. Hi, and welcome back to the podcast. So I am really thrilled to have this topic on the podcast today, which is about 5 mindset shifts that I think can change the way menopause will go for you. It can change the way you age. It can change at any time. But this is such a near and dear concept to my heart because this is where it all started for me, was mindset. So way before I was ever a coach, which is about 25 years ago, I immersed myself in personal development. It was through those late night or early morning breastfeedings that I remember I'd bring the baby in the den, I'd sit on the sofa and I'd put the TV on. And at that time, this is the early 2000s, there wasn't much on TV at those hours, except sometimes PBS and some late night infomercials. So that's when I was introduced to people like Tony Robbins and Wayne Dyer. And it's where I learned the power of my own thoughts. I had never really thought about my thoughts before. So I started noticing, because of listening to what they had to say, I started noticing the thoughts I was thinking that were sapping my energy. At the time, I was frustrated because I didn't want to go back to work. And I wanted to stay at home with my kids until they reached school age. And so just for some context, my mother had passed away while I was on maternity leave with my first daughter. So she was 3 months, my daughter was 3 months old at the time. And it changed my perspective on life, and it changed what I wanted. So it suddenly became really important to me that I spend time and be present with my own kids while they were little. But I felt stuck, and I realized that I was stuck because of what I was thinking. So I changed my thoughts. I used what I learned, in particular from Wayne Dyer, because I read all his books. And he said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I changed the way I was looking at the situation. So I decided to believe that I could stay at home with my kids and I could make money, because that was a big reason I had to go back to work, was we needed the money. So that was my new thought. I can stay at home with my kids and make money. And then once I had that thought, that very same week, because this is how it happens, the local daycare center mentioned they had 2 spots available to take on in-home daycare workers. So this is a very particular thing about where I live, but these are government spots here in Quebec. And this is at the time where it was $7 a day for daycare. And they allowed some in-home daycares also to participate in this. So they had 2 spots. And so I ran around and became the first person to get all my documents and get my application in. And out of 20 women who applied for those 2 spots, I got one of them. So I opened a home daycare. And that really got me inspired, as I realized for the very first time in my life, I could create income without being an employee. This was a huge mindset shift for me. And I began to think about how else could I make money? So I followed my passion for fitness, and I certified as a personal trainer, which some of you know, and I started training women in their homes. I was making money and I wasn't an employee. And I also became a yoga teacher and started teaching yoga, and the rest is history, right? But it all started with a shift in mindset. That's how powerful our thoughts can be. So when we're negative and feeling stuck, it's really our thoughts that are behind that. And the results that we get in life are associated with that negative, stuck feeling. But when we can think more positively, and when we can feel that there are possibilities, those thoughts will take us in a very different direction, because different things will show up in our lives that are aligned with those new thoughts. So today I want to share 5 mindset shifts that will not only get you through menopause, but will help you truly take control of your experience and manifest things like weight loss or better health or better sleep or new relationships or creating a business or whatever you really want for yourself. This is a time to dream big, I do believe, because let's be real, menopause is inevitable. We're all going to go through it if we're lucky enough, but we don't have to suffer through it. We can use our thoughts and create a great experience for the rest of our lives. So maybe you want to grab a pen and paper if you want to take some notes here. I'm going to start with the first mindset shift, which is going from the thought menopause is happening to me, which is not very empowering, to the thought I am in control of my health and well-being. That's a mindset shift. It's easy to feel powerless in menopause. It's easy to feel like your hormones are taking over and they're calling the shots and you have no control. But here's the truth. You do have control, a lot more than you think. And I hope you've realized that by now. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, I'm big on this. So while hormones are shifting, your daily choices have a massive impact on how you feel. So instead of thinking, I'm feeling stuck with these symptoms, ask yourself, what can I control today? How can I move my body? What can I put on my plate? How can I manage my stress? How can I talk to myself? I mean, we can make changes in all these areas, and science shows that lifestyle changes, I'm talking about nutrition, exercise, stress management, they can dramatically improve your menopause symptoms. You have control. Empowerment starts with small intentional choices in all these areas. So that is the first mindset shift that I suggest. The second one is going from the thought, my body is betraying me, to the thought, my body is communicating with me, because our body is an instrument. It tells you when things are going right. It tells you when things are off. And I know it's easy to feel, again, like your body is working against you here. You get hot flashes, weight gain, brain fog. But what if I told you these symptoms are not betrayals? They are signals. They are communication signals. Your body is asking for something different, and it's up to you to listen to that. So think of menopause as a conversation with your body. And instead of fighting against the symptoms, maybe get curious and ask, what is my body trying to tell me? Maybe it's saying, I need more rest. Or maybe it's saying, I need to get out and move. Or maybe it's saying, I need more nutritious food and less stress and more joy. When we shift from this frustration to getting curious and compassionate, we start making choices that support our well-being instead of resenting these changes that are happening to our body. So again, instead of the thought, my body is betraying me, try, my body is communicating with me. And then go about experimenting with what your body might be trying to tell you. So the third mindset shift I'm offering is going from the thought, I'm losing my youth, to the thought, I'm stepping into the strongest, most self-assured years of my life. That's a big shift, and that's a good one. Many women see menopause as a closing chapter, like it's the beginning of a decline. Maybe you've thought, I'm losing my youth, I'm losing my vitality, my body is gone. But here's the truth. Menopause is not an ending, it's a transition. Just like you transitioned through puberty, through pregnancy, and so many other transitions in life, they can be full of possibility. Just think of those other transitions. So think of the exciting ones, so where you went to college, you started a family, you changed careers. Perhaps these were for sure challenging, but they also brought growth and new opportunities and excitement. I know personally when I went through these transitions that I just mentioned, I welcomed them. I was excited about them. I didn't really mourn what I was leaving behind, but menopause seems to have us focusing more on what we're losing rather than what we're gaining. So instead of mourning your younger body or the life you once had, ask yourself, what is opening up for me now? That's a great question. Maybe it's more freedom. Maybe you've got more wisdom. Maybe you feel more confident. Or maybe you just have a deeper sense of purpose. So again, instead of the thought, I'm losing my youth, try the thought, I'm stepping into my strongest, most self-assured years. All right. The fourth mindset shift. So here we want to go from self-care is selfish to self-care is necessary. So this is a recurring theme, and sometimes I do feel like a broken record, but I see how hard it is for women to put themselves first. They feel selfish and guilty, and some of them prefer feeling like martyrs and getting stuck in resentment, choosing to feel miserable rather than taking care of themselves. It's a horrible place to find yourself. So does this sound like you? Have you been putting off your self-care? How often have you thought, I don't have time for self-care even? So unfortunately, by the time we get to menopause, if you really want to live a healthy life, you need to know that self-care is no longer a luxury. It's a requirement. And yes, up until now, we've been conditioned, as good women are, to put everyone else first. Put your kids first, your partners, your career, your aging parents. But you cannot pour from an empty cup. You can't pour from an empty cup. That's so important. Your body, mind, and emotions, they need care now more than ever. And when I say self-care, it doesn't have to be elaborate. It can just be saying no to things that you know are draining you. It can be prioritizing getting to bed at a certain hour. So simple. It could be getting out for a 10-minute walk. It could be eating in a way that actually makes you feel good. And when you prioritize yourself, you show up better in every area of your life. So it's never just about you. Take that mindset shift, go from self-care is selfish to self-care is a necessity. Because, and you can add this to it too, you can say, because I want to be the healthiest physically and emotionally that I can be. All right? So that's about that one. The fifth mindset shift is around weight loss, because so many of my clients come to me with a thought. The thought is weight loss is hard or impossible in menopause, or I'm gaining weight because I'm in menopause. So I want to shift that mindset to a thought that says I can lose weight and create a healthier relationship with my body in menopause. So we are in a society, as you know, as we all know as women, that we worship the almighty scale. It's easy to get stuck in equating your worth with that number on the scale. I see it all the time. And it's easy to get stuck in your old way of thinking about weight loss, meaning it has to be super strict. It must be controlled. It must include calorie counting and lots of cardio. That's all old thinking. That doesn't work. And maybe it worked for you when you were in your 20s and 30s, but once you're into your 40s and especially your 50s and beyond, that formula does not work. The first part of this I'll address is weight. So a scale isn't required to know if you've lost weight. So first of all, you don't even have to weigh yourself to know if you've lost weight. You can tell by your clothes, your energy, your strength, and just the way you feel. Are you feeling more positive and good in your body? That's enough. You do not need to validate that by stepping on the scale. That is not required. In fact, I discourage it. If you work with me, I discourage it. And next, weight loss does look different than before. So it's about prioritizing less stress. It's about eating enough food that includes protein and fiber, not restricting food. It requires you moving to get stronger, not harder or to the point where you're feeling sick because you're doing so much cardio. You want to get stronger through lifting weights or using even your own body weight. More muscle mass means better insulin control, and that means less fat stored around, especially the belly. So try on that thought. I can lose weight in menopause and create a healthier relationship with my body. Wow, that could be so powerful. So that's the 5 thoughts I want to share with you. Of course, there could be way more, and I'm sure that you have some great ideas about mindset shifts you can make. But first, you have to be aware of what's going on in your mind first. What is stopping you? Notice those thoughts, because so many of the issues that you're having around aging or health or menopause can be solved by your thinking first. So here's a quick recap of the thoughts that I talked about here today that you might want to adopt. Number 1, I'm in control of my health and well-being. 2, my body is always communicating with me. 3, I'm stepping into my strongest and most self-assured years of my life. 4, self-care is necessary. And 5, I can lose weight and create a healthier relationship with my body in menopause. So I'd love to hear from you. What mindset shift that I talked about today resonated with you most? Or is there something else that you'd like to share with me? I would love to hear from you. So you can DM me on Instagram, you can send me an email, or leave a review for this podcast, which I always love. And if you're ready to take this work deeper, it's a huge part of what I do as a coach. I invite you to my 6-month coaching journey that will give you a whole new set of beliefs, strategies, habits, and you'll feel a whole lot better and healthier in your body, I promise you. So the link to that is in the show notes. And just thanks for spending time with me today. I really appreciate that you chose to listen to this podcast. And until next week, keep moving forward, and bye for now. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Midlife Momentum Podcast. If you want to learn more about working with me, come visit me at DebbieHarbeckCoaching.com. That's Debbie, I-E, Harbeck with a C, coaching.com. See you next week.